Now, I understand that there are quite a bit of news to talk about at this moment in time as a pro wrestling fan, whether it be WWE, AEW, TNA, everything. But here's the thing, I'm going to wait to find out more details about each news piece before I give my opinion, because there are a lot of wrestling fans and wrestling critics and wrestling pundits and wrestling news websites, the entire IWC, already being a little bit too emotional on the Rock and Roman Reigns press conference when it hasn't even happened yet. We don't know what's about to go down today in Las Vegas for that press conference. And there's a lot of TNA wrestling fans out there who are very emotional about the fact that Anthem decided to terminate Scott D'Amore's contract as TNA Wrestling president. And again, we don't have enough information. We don't have enough details on both topics to touch upon, other than the fact that we're just pissed, that we're just mad, because they're just decisions and it's change, and people don't like change. Let's wait and see how it plays out. Let's wait and see details coming out of both situations. Again, today we have the press conference, Rock and Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40. There's going to be a lot more, but that's the main topic, of course. Let's see that play out. We'll talk about what transpires today on tomorrow's broadcast of Wrestling Talk. But for right now, let's talk about what transpired on last week's Friday Night SmackDown. Because the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble match winner Bayley made her decision on which champion she would face at the show of shows. And she chose correctly. She chose to challenge current WWE Women's Champion Iyo Sky at WrestleMania 40. It's going to be Bayley versus Iyo Sky for the title in a battle of former best friends, in a battle of mentor versus apprentice. And here's the thing, there's a lot more layers to this story that WWE can peel, they can peel throughout the next month and a half. And I was doubtful, again, if you watch my video from last week, the preview from SmackDown, I wanted them to play this out. I wanted them to take their time with it. I wanted it to be kind of like what Triple H and Batista did back in the day, back in 2005. Obviously, WWE decided to go a different route. They feel like they have more opportunities, more weeks of storytelling, of building this story heading into WrestleMania. And they might. I mean, you could see Asuka, Kairi saying they had no issue, they had no problem attacking Bayley, they had no problem beating her down. But when it came to Bayley throwing that pipe against Iyo Sky, she hesitated. And when it came to Iyo Sky using her championship against Bayley, she hesitated as well. And you could tell on both of their faces, and I love this detail from both superstars. You can tell from both of their faces, they don't want to do this right now. Iyo Sky was, had the devil on her shoulder, which would be Asuka and Kairi Sane. And Bayley, well, she brought Iyo Sky back into the fold all the way back in SummerSlam a couple years ago. She created Damage Control all those years ago. And the fans have finally gotten behind Bayley. They finally cheered her. And again, the backstage segment about Iyo Sky being done, it kind of feels like a Mean Girls kind of thing, where she just is going with Asuka and Kairi Sane, trying to be a good leader to them. But I could sense a little bit of heartbreak from both members of Damage Control. And again, Sasha Banks, she's not going to come back. It's pretty much a given that Mercedes Moné is going to be appearing at Big Business for All Elite Wrestling in March. I believe it's the Dynamite right after Revolution in Boston in the TD Garden. That's fantastic for All Elite Wrestling. Can't wait for that to happen. Again, I would much rather prefer Sasha Banks to return to WWE. But, again, I don't make those decisions. But one interesting note that I want to bring up from last week's Friday Night SmackDown segment. There was one person missing from Damage Control. There was one member from Damage Control missing from this entire drama. I don't know what that was. I'll check on it right now. Yeah. Dakota Kai was nowhere to be seen. She was nowhere to be found. And that begs the question. Is Dakota Kai ready to wrestle? Is she cleared to get back into the ring? Because if she is, the next couple of weeks, the next month of storytelling between Iyo Sky and Bayley on the road to WrestleMania, it's going to be, where does Dakota Kai's loyalty lies? With her running mates in Damage Control, Iyo Sky, Asuka, Kairi Sane, the current Women's Tag Team Champions, they're a part of the group, and I kind of sense that over the past few months we've seen it develop. Whenever they have been making fun of Bayley, Dakota Kai seems a little bit against it. Or not against it, more like what's the word? In between. She wants to agree with her teammates, but she doesn't really want to put Bayley on the back burner. She doesn't want to roast Bayley, to put it that way. I lack the vocabulary right now to properly communicate that. But again, I think Dakota Kai is going to be a big part of this story if she's indeed cleared to wrestle. And if I have to make a prediction, Dakota Kai is going to have to join Bayley in this fight against her former Damage Control teammates just to level it up. Or WWE might go the route of having 4-on-1 beatdowns and building more sympathy towards Bayley. And we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But by all means, that segment from last night's SmackDown was a highlight of the show, and I can't wait for Bayley versus Iyo Sky for the Women's Championship. We just have to wait and see. Let it play out. Let's see the story that they're trying to tell with these two amazing superstars on the road to WrestleMania. So with that said, leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on that entire program, on last week's segment. What are you expecting from tonight's press conference to kick off WrestleMania 40 press conference? What are you expecting from Rock and Reigns? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions in the comment section below. With that said, tune in later on tonight to Access TV for another episode of TNA Wrestling Impact. My name is Alexis Carrillo. This is Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.